right, y'all. Welcome back to Technical Knockout, the hardcore casual MMA podcast. We have a very special guest here today. We have amateur heavyweight, about to be a professional, Gabe Rednose. Gabe, say what's up to the people.
How you guys doing? Appreciate you having me on, brother. I'm a big fan and really appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, man. I'm happy to have you on. I appreciate you coming on, dude. We reached out to you a few months ago. Unfortunately, you got injured and had to focus on healing up that injury. But we're really impressed with what you've done on the amateur circuit as a heavyweight. In general, we're always fans on this podcast of heavyweights who have well-rounded games, and you certainly seem to have those tools in your toolkit. Getting a lot of your victories on the circuit by finish, I think, is super important and definitely puts you near the top of people to watch and people to look out for. So I'm pumped to have you on the show, and I'm excited to talk about the sport that we both love and how we got into it and whatnot. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you having me.
Of course, brother. So first off, I want to talk about what got you into MMA in the first place. I know you've talked about in other interviews and stuff about how you used to get into fights as a kid and got bullied a bit. Was that your introduction to the sport, or did you start wrestling, or did you watch it on TV? How'd you get into the sport in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. I wrestled majority of my life since probably fourth or fifth grade. I had a few buddies who I ended up going to college. Well, rewind. I ended up going to college, and I had a few buddies while I was in college compete in the cage. They'd always ask me for help on their ground game, their wrestling game, whatever it may be. I dropped out of college, came back, and I thought, I might as well get in there and try it myself. My buddies have had success in there, so let's test the waters and see if I can as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked out. You've had great success on the regional circuit, amassing a 9-2 record overall, and being ranked number 1 in the U.S., in Mexico, and Latin America for heavyweight. So I think that's incredible. And going into your professional debut in October, right? You're debuting in October?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, going in there, you already have a ton of experience, and I'm sure that's going to give you a leg up on your competition. You said that you've been wrestling since like 4th or 5th grade. I think it really shows in your game, a lot of times in these heavyweight matchups, it seems like the guy across from you, or not only from you, but in general in heavyweight MMA fights, they're looking to just take people's heads off. And I love seeing you work a well-rounded game and taking guys down, beating them up on the ground, going for submissions and everything. I just have a couple questions about that. With your background in wrestling, I've noticed that a lot of the heavyweight or a lot of the amateur fights I've seen, they don't allow elbows. Has that been the case for you in your career as well?
Yes, for sure. Majority of the states here in the United States, amateurs aren't allowed to throw elbows, or they aren't allowed. I mean, some states allow knees to the head, but most states, I think there's only like 2 states that allow knees to the head. But as an amateur rule set, no elbows and no knees to the head.
Yeah. I think once you get that professional debut and you get in that top position, you start raining down elbows, it's going to be a much shorter night. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's going to fit right into my game very perfectly. I'm very excited to land some elbows for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it, man. I'm definitely going to be watching. So I see that you're training with Joe Daddy Stevenson over there. You're based out of Oklahoma, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. And you got some work done with Matt Grice as well, right?
Yep. So I actually train here in Oklahoma. I train at American Elite under Matt Grice. And whenever I start my fight camps, I usually try to get at least a month out with my head coach, Joe Stevenson, in California. So I'm thinking all of September I'll be out training with all of my training partners out there and getting some guidance from my head coach, Joe Stevenson. It's been awesome working with Matt Grice. He's my head coach as well. And, just the brains on these guys who have been in there and have done it and have experienced it firsthand. There's no better coach than, to have those guys in your corner. So I'm very blessed to have both of them, coaching me and guiding me, showing me the way.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, as a long time, MMA fan and UFC fan, I grew up watching guys like Joe Stevenson and Matt Grice. I mean, particularly Matt Grice, his fight with Jason Black is one of the fights that I always tell people who are getting into the sport, like, hey, you want to see like some high level shit before people knew what they were, before people were putting everything together. You got to watch this fight. So it's awesome that you're around such great company. You know what I mean? And working with those guys is sure to sharpen the iron. I mean, clearly it's paid off. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. I saw you fought in Hendo's Fight League in the last in your last outing. Did you get any training in with him, or was it just a contact through some of these OG vets?
Not so much training, but we did cross train down at his gym, and I got great training in with all of his top guys. It's actually crazy because Joe has his own affiliation, his own gym, Cobra Kai in Victorville, but he'll actually drive down the pass down to Temecula area in California, and he's actually Dan Henderson's head MMA coach and jiu-jitsu coach for Dan's gym. So, they're affiliated with each other. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, when I go out there, we'll drive down and we'll make the hour and a half drive every Monday and Wednesday, and basically just stay in Temecula from, we'll get there at 7 a.m. on the dot and not come home till 9 or 10 o'clock. So, lots of great rounds, being around and seeing legends of the sport, is very cool and very motivating for me. And, I just take it as they come and try to, maybe picture myself being in their shoes one day.
Yeah, hell yeah. So when you did start getting into MMA and UFC and everything, what were some of the fighters that you latched onto? What were some of your favorite fights growing up?
I really like Daniel Cormier. I like just his single leg. It's really similar to stuff that I like doing. And, John Jones, of course, Dominic Reyes, who's one of my main training partners now. Get really good working with him. He's a great mentor for me. I always love watching him perform at such a high level and just visualizing, that, I literally get to train with that guy when I watch him on TV. So that's another big inspiration for me and motivation for me to keep pushing harder. But yeah, probably like, Daniel Cormier, John Jones, Dominic Reyes, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, Joe Stevenson. There's a lot. I can't really name my favorite just because I
hear you.
I like a lot of different styles. So I guess if we compared it to styles, then I could stylistically probably pick my favorite. But I have too many to try to choose just from one.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, good problems to have. A lot of those fighters that you've mentioned and some of your influences and stuff. One of the biggest tools that they all have, one of the biggest gifts that they've been given, is their grit and determination. And seeing your fights, I think you really embody that. I was watching some of the regional fights on YouTube, and just like seeing you push through some of these fighters and have that heart. That's something that you can't teach. You know what I mean? That's something that you've accrued, I'm sure, from growing up where you grew up, from wrestling for as long as you did, and it's something that they won't be able to take away from you. You know what I mean? So, good shit there, man. And I'm really excited to see how you develop as a fighter.
Thank you.
So you've talking. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, brother. But yeah, you've spoken openly, and you proudly fly your people's flag, the Cheyenne and Arapahoe's tribe. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, sir. Cheyenne and Arapaho, or for short, people just say CNA. It just depends on where you're from, really.
Awesome. So, growing up in that culture, did you grow up on a reservation or near a reservation?
I didn't grow up on the reservation, but I grew up near one. So, I've worked here at my tribe's casino for the last 5 years. I'm in the IT department, so I'm on my reservation every single day. I live in a small town called Kingfisher, which is about 20 minutes away from Concho, which is where our reservation is at.
Nice. I just have a couple questions about that. I mean, there's not a ton of Native American representation in MMA. You yourself said that you'd be the first professional fighter from your tribe, which is an awesome feat in and of itself. But I know that there's a lot of as you mentioned, there's a lot of bullying in your tribe or in general for you being more fair skinned. But I'm sure that just being around such a proud and strong culture has raised you to be the man that you are now with the family that you have and the values that you have. But just curious about some of the inner workings of growing up Native American and keeping that culture alive. Did you guys have like what were some of the foods that you guys ate in the house growing up? What were some of the like the games that you play, things like that? You know what I mean? I want to shine a light a little bit on the tribe and the culture.
Of course, you can't go wrong with, Native American food. It's delicious, man. It's a lot of fry bread, a lot of stews, um, meat pie, like basically, Indian tacos. Like there's difference. There's Indian tacos that you get like at the state fair or something. Then there's real Indian tacos that you get. There's a big difference, and I don't think a lot of people have actually tasted real Indian tacos before. So, just nothing crazy, and it's not like I grew up, you know, super involved with my tribe or going to powwows every single weekend, and it wasn't like that for me. I obviously am a proud tribal member, and I will always be proud and very honored to carry my tribal flag out with me. Um, it's hard being as light skinned as I am, and people just kind of automatically writing you off, a non-Native American or um, whatever you'd like to call it. So I've had to deal with that adversity my whole life. My dad and I are different skin colors, so I've had to live with that as well, which none of it really, bothered me. But,
Hmm.
you know, it to continue to hear the same thing, or walk into a tribal council meeting and, you know, multiple people in front of you, they didn't get asked to see their tribal card, but whenever you get up there, you get asked. It's just little stuff like that, that's what's
Hmm.
irritating to me, you know. But regardless of all that being aside, I'll always represent the best I can, best of my ability, and I'll always be very, very proud to carry that flag over my shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can kind of relate a bit. I'm half Egyptian, half American. Obviously, as you can see, I look more Egyptian than American. So it was kind of like a weird disconnect there with some of my more Americanized friends, or with some of my more Egyptian friends that I kind of felt like I didn't fit in either hole. So I get where you're coming from, brother. But what's important is, like you said, to stay proud of your heritage, stay proud of your culture, and give them something to be proud of, and I think you've certainly done that with the way that you carry yourself and your success on the amateur circuit. I'm sure will translate into a great professional career and putting a spotlight on your tribe and the culture in general. A spotlight that hasn't really been there in this space. I think the only really prominent Native American or Native fighter that I can think of is Brock Weaver, and he's had
Yep,
some
yep.
bad stories out
Choctaw.
there as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, he's been a great fighter. There was some controversy around him, so I think having somebody like yourself who is very much about their business, who's very much proud to be from where you're from, and carrying yourself very well, I think is going to be amazing for the culture as a whole. So I'm happy for you, brother. Um,
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, besides that, I just want to ask you some questions, more personal questions. Try to get people to learn the man behind the record. You know what I mean? So just gonna ask you some simple questions about everyday life and stuff like that. First off, I know you've talked about your family before. You have kids, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir. I have two kids. I have my daughter Parker, and then I have my son Riot.
Nice, awesome.
Yep, yep.
How old are they?
Parker's birthday is coming up. She's about to turn 5, and then my son Riot is 18 months younger, so he's still three and a half. They
Congratulations,
keep me
man.
busy.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you, brother. They keep me on my
Yeah,
toes for sure.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it certainly gives you something to fight for, and like you said, they'll definitely keep you honest. They'll keep you busy. Having kids running around the house and stuff. Um,
For sure.
so
It's
that
hard, man. It's hard training, 3 times a day, being a full-time dad, working a full-time job. I'm not here to complain at all. This is the life that I chose to live, and I'm very proud to live it. But damn, do I get tired sometimes.
yeah, I hear you, man. We all need a break sometimes, you know. Um, but you're gonna look at it, you know, in the future. You're gonna look back and I'm sure you're gonna be proud of your body of work and the legacy you've left for your kids and everything like that, you know. Um, so they're blessed to have somebody like you leading the pack, so to speak. Um,
Well,
besides that, you have to choose breakfast or dessert. What are you thinking?
breakfast for sure.
Yeah, are you a savory breakfast guy or a sweet breakfast guy?
Savory, give me some bacon and eggs, man. I'm not a big sweets guy. It's weird. Me being a heavyweight, and being a bigger guy my whole life. I've never really liked sweets that much. Like, obviously, I'll eat a sweet every now and then, but it's not really my favorite. I just like food in general. Like, I never really knew what portion control was. Portion size. We're having spaghetti for dinner. Back in the day, man, I'd eat 3 plates. It's like no.
Yeah.
So once I finally learned, how to correctly portion my food out, I lost that 100 pounds, and I dropped back down to 200 pounds. I got up to 300 pounds, dropped back the weight class down to 205, and um, looking forward, I'll probably stay light heavyweight or maybe make the cut to 185 in the future.
Wow, really? I didn't realize that middleweight was on your horizons. You know, I saw some of your fights from 5 years ago or so at Rage of the Cage, I think it was called, or King of the Cage.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and yeah, and you looked like compared to how you looked in your most recent outings, you looked like a whole different guy. Like, you know, so uh, congrats on losing that weight and kind of, you know, getting more in tune there with your body and how everything works. You know, so I mean, if you were able to have that success at heavyweight, I'm sure that that power and that grappling experience will translate further down the weight classes as well. So, are you looking to is the debut at light heavyweight coming up?
Yes, sir. So I have fought 4 times now at light
I think
heavyweight.
we're having some technical
I'm for
difficulties.
sure going to. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
think you're good now.
Okay,
But yeah,
cool.
you were saying
Yeah, I've had
is
four
your
fights at light
debut?
heavyweight. Yep. Debut is going to be at light heavyweight, and if the fight makes sense, if they're around my size to where they're not cutting 300 from 300 pounds down to heavyweight, then I'll take a heavyweight fight, sure, if it makes sense. But I'm looking more
Hmm.
to once I capture a bigger contract, I'm looking more to drop to 85 and see how things go there, and just test the waters out there as well.
Yeah, definitely awesome. I mean, I think with your work ethic and your skill set, you'll do well in whatever weight class you end up in. You know what I mean? So, I'm excited to see how it all plays out. All right, I got another random question here for you. All right, so you walk into a room. I know you said you're not really a sweets guy. Do you like candy at all?
Yeah, I like candy.
All right, cool. So let's say there's a bowl of assorted candies there, right? All different colors, whatever color you can think of. What's the color you're going to go for first?
Probably blue,
I
blue
love that
raspberry.
answer. Great answer. Great answer. That's my answer too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you got it's the best, you know, I mean, blue raspberry, it could be cotton candy, you know, it could be blueberry. I'm happy
could
with
be.
either outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. Me too. Any of the
I
above,
love that
sure.
answer. Yeah. Hell yeah. Um all right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of running out of ideas here. Do you have any questions? Anything you want to promote or anything you want to highlight?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to give a couple of my sponsors, a shout out. Vero Ferro with Water Heater Man. Uh, I couldn't do it without him, and He's been a very big sponsor for me.
Oh, that's
That's
dope.
his brand there. Um,
Very cool.
he's helped me out with a lot, and I couldn't financially do it without him. He's been a very big supporter of mine, and I also want to give a shout out to Stacy and Eric Payne. They've been sponsoring me since like my second fight. Um, it means a lot to me, and I want to give a big shout out to Central Will Nelson here in Oklahoma. They're a plumbing parts store. They sponsored me as well for this go around, and I couldn't do it without these guys. They all mean a lot to me, and they really don't understand or fathom how much they're really helping me out by doing this for me and allowing me to chase this dream of mine to hopefully financially change the future of my kids' lives. So man to man, father to father, friend to friend, bottom of my heart, that really means a lot to me. So I really appreciate everyone who for sure sponsors me and supports me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I love your attitude, dude. I love your professionalism. I love your style in the cage, and I'm really excited to see how your career develops. I'm definitely going to be watching your debut, and I hope some of the TKO Nation will be watching as well, because I think we've got a bona fide prospect on our hands here. So thank you so much for carving out the time to come on the show. I'd be very happy to have you on again at some point to talk about upcoming fights. If you'd be interested in that, that's up to you, and we can talk about your debut after it happens, man. I'm looking forward to it, brother.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it, man. I'd love to come back. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I love your show. I love your podcast and giving us fighters this platform to come on here and talk and, just give us that, clout, for a little bit and let us talk about ourselves and, what we're going to do. So, October 10th, after I put my elbow through this guy's face, I would love to come back on. And after I get my hand raised, I'd love to come back on and talk to you about it and, talk to TKO Nation for sure again.
Hell yeah, brother. I appreciate it, man. Looking forward to having you back on. Thank you very much, Gabe, for joining the show. And we'll definitely be talking again after your debut, after you get this dub out the way. And yeah, I'm excited to see you rack up some more finishes, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you
I
for
appreciate
watching,
it.
y'all.